Hi everyone, it's Scarlett and welcome back to my channel. So since I started writing my work in progress way back in 2014, I've changed the title of it a startling amount of times. Don't believe me? Number 1, The Boy with Pretty Blue Eyes. Number 2, Pretty Blue Eyes. Number 3, Blue Eyes. Number 4, His Blue Eyes. Number 5, Going Back to Just Blue Eyes. Number 6, And Back to His Blue Eyes. So now I'm simply calling it His Blue Eyes, working title in brackets, because I'm indecisive as shit. But at least I have a theme going on and I'm pretty consistent with it, so there's that. I've narrowed the title options down to about 3, which I will list off at the end of this video, so please be sure to stick around so you can hear them and give me your heartfelt opinions. You can leave your comments here or on Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram. I don't know if Instagram would work, but try it. Who knows? Coming up with a title can be a very scary process sometimes, and I don't know about you, but I rank it right up there with the stress of naming characters. A good title won't necessarily save your book, but a bad title can destroy it. Along with the cover art of your novel, the title is the first thing that the reader is going to see. It will be the thing that they punch into the search engine, the thing that they tell their friends, the thing that they ask the cashier or the librarian about when they go and try to find your book. And I don't know about you, but I am much more likely to remember a title than an author's name. I don't know why, it's just the way my brain has been wired, especially if the author is new, up and coming, it's their debut novel, all that kind of stuff. But that is why this part is so damn important. This part of the writing process is a piece of cake to some. It comes as naturally to them as breathing would, while others would gladly opt for getting their teeth pulled instead. I'm kind of in the middle. I'm often very quick to come up with a title, usually in the pre-writing phase or even mid-writing phase. It's very unlikely for me to come up with a title when the story has just finished. However, the moment I sink my teeth into a possible title, I will proceed to start changing the willies out of it. I am just never satisfied. Never. Now, there are no definite 100% foolproof tricks that will help you formulate the best of the best kind of title. However, there are some things you can do that will help the process along. And that's why I'm here. Hooray! So without further ado, here are my top 5 tips and tricks to figuring out the perfect title for your book baby. Number 1, does it reflect your story's genre? Generally speaking, you're not going to be wanting to call your Harlequin romance something nitty-gritty and dark and brooding that would resemble something from true crime or thriller or horror. And just the same, you don't want to be naming your true crime novel something mushy and romantic. If you do this, you're setting yourself up for failure. A true crime fanatic might get horribly confused when they pick up your book and the title is Fire and Ice, a Lustful Tragedy, or A Taste of Lost Paradise. You might end up losing a sale that way, because as much as we don't like to admit it, we totally judge books by their cover, and sometimes the title. And just as well, you might receive a crap ton of hate mail from some hardcore Harlequin romance addicts when they read your book and realize there's no hanky-panky, hoity-toity, frolicking in the sheets kind of stuff. Bottom line, don't be confusing people. It's just not very nice. Number 2, has the title you're thinking about already been taken? While this is not ideal, it is okay. This, believe it or not, is bound to happen, especially if your title options are maybe universal catchphrases, things like that. There's technically no such thing as copyright infringement when it comes to titles, so you can name your title even if it's already been taken. I don't recommend it. Realistically speaking, I think it's a terrible idea. You want your book to stand out and have a fighting chance. You want your book to be unique in its own way, so if you're already sharing your title with someone, you're sharing the limelight as well. And this is why, and I'm sure you've heard it before, it is so damn important to Google any title ideas you have in mind. If you have an idea that is 100% the same as something else that's already swimming out there, whether it's a song, a book, a movie, I would recommend just dropping it like a hot potato. Don't even think about it. Sure, have your grieving period, mourn about it, but move on. Number 3, is it memorable? So a lot of sites out there tell you to keep it short and sweet, catchy, memorable, unique, all that kind of stuff. But I just want to let you guys know that there is nothing wrong with a nice long title as well. To Kill a Mockingbird, I'll Give You the Sun, 10 Things I Can See from Here, This Book is Filled with Spiders, Cinnamon Toast and the End of the World. I could keep going. At the same time, you do not want to make your book title too long and complicated for someone to not even remember. I did mention before that sometimes people are more likely to remember a title than an author's name. So if you're screwing them over and they can't remember either, that's a loss in sales for you potentially. So you don't want to overwhelm your title with big words and adverbs and descriptors and all that fun stuff. You just don't go overboard with it. The main point here is just to make sure that your book title is relatively easy to remember, catchy, unique to you, and easy enough to enunciate, which might be hard for those people, especially in the fantasy realm, that maybe create words to reflect potential symbolism in their book. So they have words that don't even technically exist. But if that works for them, if that means that they are unique to their own book, have at her. Number 4, it's important to know that you don't need to pick one right away. It is fine to write your entire book and still not have an idea. It is fine to have an idea at the very beginning and then change it halfway through, or at the end again, and again, and again. It's not set in stone, and it doesn't always have to be up to you. You are more than welcome to ask your friends and family for advice, a second opinion, create a poll, make a questionnaire. The most important piece of advice in that, though, is make sure that you are asking your target audience. Out of all the people you're asking, if it is not your desired age group or so, you might be getting a lot of mixed reviews, so you just got to be careful with that. So my advice on this is always just have a couple options at the ready. I had about 5 to 7 with the work in progress I'm working on right now. I wrote them all down, tucked them away, and every once in a while I would pull them out and see which one my eye was drawn to first. I would also test them out, whether it was on people I knew really well or not really well. I was gauging their reaction to see which title piqued their interest more than the other. I was making notes about how often I would call my work in progress His Blue Eyes in my head versus simply Blue Eyes or anything else. Eventually, you'll find yourself crossing out some options and finding yourself drawn to others. And that's a good thing. And finally, number 5, if you are still having a hard time trying to figure out a perfect title for your book, try to keep these in mind. Do you have any themes, symbolisms, or keywords that keep catching your attention or keep standing out while you're reading your own novel? So, for example, in my story, when Angus first meets Jackson, the first thing that he notices is how shockingly blue Jackson's eyes are. So the first thing he thinks to call him is Blue Eyes. Who knew? In the rest of my novel, those 2 words keep popping up because that is Jackson's nickname, whether he realizes it or not. Those 2 words are heavily saturated and used in my story, and thus I consider them several of my keywords. Another example of this is if you were writing a paranormal story about aliens, you might be seeing keywords such as mutant, extraterrestrial, UFO, space, probe. Maybe don't use that last one, but it's just an example. Sometimes you can simply use the protagonist's name or even their profession as the title of your story. This tends to work more for contemporary novels, however, I have seen it in fantasy as well. For example, Jenna Moressi's Eve the Awakening and Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. Sometimes you can use key phrases in your novel. Nelson's I'll Give You the Sun did just that. That phrase is literally smack dab right in the middle of her novel. This can be a bit challenging, but it is helpful that when you are scanning your work for keywords, keep catchphrases in mind, something that your eye is drawn to, that is catchy, witty, maybe applicable for a title. If it doesn't work immediately as a title, you can rearrange it and do minor changes to make it appropriate. And there you have it. Those are my top 5 tips and tricks to picking a perfect title. A title is a very important part of your book. It is what will separate your book from others. It is often the first thing people think of when book hunting. And besides the cover art, it's what will often catch their eye. So you want to make sure you make the most of this process to set yourself up for the best success. Alright, so I mentioned earlier that I was going to list off my 3 final options for my current work in progress. If you stuck around, thank you. If you didn't, well, that makes me sad. As you can tell from my previous attempts at titling, they're all very similar. They all have blue eyes in them with minor adjustments and revisions within them. And I think I narrowed it down to these 3. So the first 2 you have already heard, the third one you have not. Number 1, keep it as my current working title, His Blue Eyes. Number 2, change it up, lose a word, keep it up, simply Blue Eyes. Number 3, change it up completely and call it All the Oceans in His Eyes. So the first 2 apply to keywords and symbolism that I use throughout my story. However, the third one is a catchphrase that is also implanted in my novel several times at generally pretty impactful parts when Angus is trying to describe Jackson's eye color. However, it has been adjusted slightly to flow better in the form of a title. So what do you think? I would love to hear your opinion. Which one is your favorite? Which one is your least favorite? Nothing, like I said before, is set in stone, but I would love to know which one you love best. Keep in mind that my novel is a young adult fiction with LGBT romance. With that said, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I post new vlogs every Thursday. If there's something you would like me to talk about or discuss, or even if you'd like to drop a line and just say hi, you can always message me on here or tweet me at Scarlet Stone. As always, I have my little linky loose swimming around there in the description box for you if you want to check out my website, Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, all that fun stuff. You know where to find it. Until next time, happy writing. Bye!